Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It is Tracy with JDL Threads, and as promised, today I have a tutorial for you for how to cut out your fabric on your Cricut for your applique embroidery designs. So come along with me and let's check it out and see how that works. I would like to say hello to everybody, new and returning viewers. Hope everybody's having a good day. Hope everybody's doing great today. So as you can see on my computer here, we are going to be doing an applique graduation cap and diploma. Only the cap is going to be applique though. The diploma is going to be embroidery and the tassel is going to be embroidery. And I'm going to show you how to get that cut out on your Cricut machine so you don't have to be using your scissors to cut around all that little fussy fabric. It's just so much simpler, you guys, which is the main reason why I did get my Cricut machine, even though I love to use it for vinyl to make t-shirts and other projects. But the main reason I did get the Cricut machine was so that I could cut out some of my applique designs for my embroidery projects. You can do, patches, applique patches, or just make appliques on shirts, and it just makes it really, really simple. So come and join me and let's see how that is done. Okay, so I hope you guys can see that pretty good, because what I'm going to be doing is showing you my computer screen, which we are going to be using the Chroma Luxe software, embroidery software that I purchased when I did get my Ricoma MT1501. Again, love that machine, you guys. If you haven't already started an embroidery journey and you're thinking about it, shoot for the moon, you guys, because it's just so awesome to be able to create things that you like to create. All right. So again, we are going to be doing an applique graduation cap, and this part of the cap is going to be applique, where you see my pointer here, just the cap. The tassel and the diploma is going to be stitches. So now first what we would do is we would bring in our we would bring in our embroidery file, wherever you keep your embroidery files. Mine just happens to be under embroidery designs, and I made a special folder for appliques so that I know where to get to that appliques when I need to go ahead and make any applique projects. And as you can see, mine is there under and the grand appliques. Okay, everybody, so there's the graduation cap, what we are going to be making our applique design from. I hope you can see my computer screen with my Chroma Deluxe software. And all I did was I made a separate folder for where I keep all of my appliques versus my embroidery designs so that I can easily go to those designs when I need to find them. So I would just click my folder, and this is my and the grand applique design folder, and you see the graduation cap is here. I would just click on that and drag it over to my Chroma Luxe program, which I have already done that. And Chroma reads a DST file, so that's the file that I would use if I go to embroider my design. However, with the Chroma Luxe software, it's the highest tier of the software, and you can bring any design into the program and it will just convert it over to a DST file, which is Ricoma's embroidery file, so they can get the file stitched out for you. Okay, but now this is just the RDE file that we're working with, which is just the working file in case we want to make any changes to our design, and save that so that we don't have to go over and keep on remaking that same design again. We have what's called an RDE file, and we just save our designs in there, make any changes, and then put that in the folder where we would like to keep it. So I just did go ahead and make changes to the colors here. My daughter is graduating nursing school, so I am going to be making this applique patch to represent my daughter's accomplishments. And I'm also in the next video going to be attempting to make a cap topper for her graduation, and we'll see how that turns out as well. But today we are going to strictly stick to making this applique design project a graduation cap. So we have our RDE file, and in order to get this file to cut out for our Cricut machine, we have to change it over to an SVG file, which is the file that the Cricut software reads, Cricut Design Space. And so I'm going to show you how to do that. So all we would do is we would go to where our very first stitches are, what we want to have cut out in our Cricut Design Space, which would be the first placement stitch here. We would highlight that. And then, oh, I'm sorry, you guys. Let me go back because I'm getting one step ahead of myself. The first thing that we have to do is we have to save our working file as an SVG cut file. So we would go over here to File. We would go to Save As, and we would change this Chroma RDE file. We would click down on our drop down file right here, and we would go all the way down to this SVG file, and we would save it as an SVG. And then that would put it in our cut files for our Cricut. I made a folder for that, just for cut files for Cricut for my appliques, so that I know where everything is once I get ready to switch that file over to the Cricut Design Space software. Okay, so we have that now saved as an SVG file, and we would just bring that up. So I'm going to switch over to the next tab, which is here. This is my graduation cap applique patch RDE working file, and then this one is my graduation cap SVG file. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to that one. Now this is the one that's going to give us our cut file to cut out the fabric for our hat. Now we would click here on all items, this first tab, which is our placement stitch. We would click on that. We would come over here to our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th icon in our program, which is a cutter creating cutting outlines. We would click on that. And I don't think you guys can barely see it, but it is there. It's the outline of the graduation cap. Okay, and down here it says seam allowance 0.00. What we would want to do is we would change that to 0.20 to make it just a little bit bigger than that placement line. We would say apply, and then we would save it. And then that would save it in our Cricut cut file in order for us to go ahead and be able to cut that file out. So now let's go over to our Cricut cut file, which now you can see it. I've already named it here, graduation cap cut file, which is, let's see, this one here. I just took it out of the folder. So if we click on that, there's our cut file. Okay, so what we would do, we would open up our Cricut Design Space next. Let me get out of here because this is when I did my test run for it. So let me just close that out. We would go to our canvas. Mine was already open on my Cricut Design Space canvas, but if yours is not open, you just want to go to New, design and bring up your canvas. We would go to upload an image, and then we would simply go to our cut file, which is our graduation cut file, and we would bring out our Hotmail file. We would drag it over to our Cricut app, and we would drop it in there. Now, you don't see it here, but it is there under cut image. We would just click upload, and over here, you see it says graduation cap cut file. We would click on that, and we would add it to the canvas, and there is our graduation cap outline to cut our fabric for our applique embroidery design, you guys. Now, you don't want to change the size of the design because it is the size for the applique. We already made it a little bit bigger than what the line is, and that was just so the placement stitch can catch the design once we get ready to tack our applique design down to our fabric. But you don't want to go in Cricut and make that any bigger or any smaller than what we already did. We have it there. And what we're going to do is I brought it up to 250 so you guys could just see the lines for the cap and what's going to be cut out. Okay? So what we will do now is we have to go to our fabric, and we're going to add some heat and bond, double-sided heat and bond to the back of our fabric so that we can get it prepared to get it cut out on our Cricut machine. I don't have heat and bond light. I only had heat and bond ultra, so that's what I'll be using today. But generally, everyone uses heat and bond light. Doesn't make a difference. It's just a little bit heavier than the heat and bond light, the ultra, but they both serve the same purpose. So let's go on ahead over to our ironing station, and I'll show you how to apply your heat and bond ultra to the back of your fabric. Okay, everybody, so we are over to our ironing station, and I have a piece of fabric that I already cut out to do my test file cut for my applique. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we're going to take this heat and bond, which it has a more rough surface here that we're going to lay down on our wrong side of our fabric. And we're going to iron it on, and we're going to leave our paper on our backing for now while we iron it, so that we can go ahead and get this ready to transfer to our Cricut machine to get it cut out and to iron it onto our other fabric that we're going to use to make an applique. So I'm just going to make this piece here a little bit smaller. My Heat and Bond Ultra, so we can get that ready to be cut out. I think I'm going to use this bigger piece because I want the coverage to be all the way on this file. My little iron is already warmed up here, burning my ironing board. That's how hot this little guy gets, you guys. You remember my little purple iron that I got from Temu? Oops, I touched a little of my other heat and bond on there. Don't want to do that. Okay, so we're just going to iron this guy on here, trying not to touch the fabric that already has the previous heat and bond on it from my earlier test run. Now that we have our heat and bond applied to the back of our duck canvas, which is going to be the main fabric for our applique graduation cap, we're going to go ahead and just peel off this paper backing now. Okay, and you can see that it does have the glue on the back side of the fabric. So now what we need to do is get our mat ready so we can cut this cap out. So all we're going to do is we're going to get I'm going to use my fabric grip mat that I got from Temu. It's not necessary to use the Cricut mats. You can use any mat will work. They all serve the same purpose. And it does help when you have this Heat and Bond double-sided sticky glue on the back, because that helps it stick to your fabric and not move. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this cutting mat and we're going to go over to our Cricut machine and we're going to get ready to load it in to our Cricut so that it can cut out our template for our graduation cap. So head on over to the Cricut machine with me so that we can get that set up. Okay, everybody, so we are back over to my computer where we have our cut file ready to be cut out for our applique graduation cap. And so what we're going to do is we're going to see what are the dimensions for the fabric that we need to lay down on the mat. And it is about 3.5 inches wide. So I'm just going to go over to 4, and it's about 2 inches height. And so I'm probably just going to go down to about 3. Now I have already pre-cut my fabric and it did go down to 4. So it's 4 and 4, and we know that we are good to get our whole design cut out without any issues. So what we now need to do is we need to push make it on our Cricut design space, and I always like to just bring my design a little bit down and get it off of those red lines, because I'm not sure if it's on those red lines, is it going to cut out properly. I also have to make sure I have the correct mat size. Now this mat size that I'm going to be using is the 12 by 24 mats, but sometimes I do use the 12 by 12. So in that case, we would just go down to the drop down menu if we were going to use our 12 by 12 and click on 12 by 12 so that you see it changes it right here to a 12 by 12. Let me make sure you guys can see that. It changes it to a 12 by 12 inch mat instead of a 24 by 12. But we are going to be using the 12 by 24, so I'm just going to change that back. This is fabric, so we will not be mirroring our fabric like we would be doing our HTV vinyl. So we are not going to click mirror. We are just going to leave that as is. We are going to press continue here. And we are going to wait for it to give us our options so that we can go ahead and get our fabric cut out. Now mine is already preset. I have selected fabric cotton bonded, which I'm going to go ahead and click that. Now normally when I use my regular cotton fabric, which is woven tightly fabric, I just use the default setting. However, since I am now going to be using my duck canvas, which is a little bit heavier woven fabric, I'm going to go ahead and use more pressure to make sure that we get this design cut out completely and we won't have any snags in our design once we get ready to lift it off the mat. So we've got that selected. Our Cricut machine is ready. We have a blinking light which says it's ready for us to load our mat. So let's go ahead over to our mat, load in our mat, and get ready to see this design cut out, you guys. Okay, so as you guys can see right here, we have the blinking light on our Cricut, which means that it is ready for us to load our mat, our 12 by 24 mat, and we're just going to load it here under these two little tabs that are in our Cricut machine, and we're going to push the arrows to load in our mat. And actually, I didn't do a good job getting that mat centered, so it's probably not going to be correct. I'm probably, well, wait a minute. It looks like it did push it back under those tabs, even though I did not have it under those tabs in the meantime. Okay, so also what I like to do, just for extra protection, is I'm going to take some of this blue painter's tape, and I'm going to tape down my sides to ensure that my fabric doesn't move when I'm getting ready to cut out my design. I don't think it'll move, but just in case, we're going to put that tape down. All right, so let's just put it up top here. And I should have put this down before I inserted my mat, but that's okay. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit the flashing arrow here on top of the Cricut machine. You see that flashing play sign? Excuse me. We're going to go ahead and hit that. Excuse me. So that we can go ahead and get our fabric cut out. And we'll wait and get it cut out. It should only take a few minutes to get that cut out, you guys. Now I'm just going to check it to see if I see that cut line. And I don't really see that cut line. So before I take my mat out of my Cricut, I'm going to go ahead and hit the play button again so that we can cut that, so it'll cut in the exact same line that it cut the first time, so that it won't ruin our fabric. Because if you hit the eject button with the 2 blinking arrows, then you might be offline with your fabric. So if you want to double check it before you take your mat out, just make sure that you don't take your mat out and you just hit the play button one more time so that it can recut your fabric to ensure that all your fabric is all the way cut out. And I'm going to just lift it here. All right. And that does look like it gave me a clean cut. So I'm going to eject my mat and I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. And here is our cut file for our applique for our graduation cap. See how wonderful that is compared to cutting all the way around all these edges with those scissors? Much more effective, much more effective. Now, the only thing is I want to do applique also with heavier fabrics like felt and maybe some anti-peel fleece fabric or blizzard anti-peel fabric. Now, those won't be able to go into the Cricut cutting machine because those are just a little bit too thick. Maybe it might work if I got a rotary cutter for the Cricut. I don't know. I'll have to test that out. I have to get one and test that out. But that particular case, I will have to go ahead and still cut around with my little scissors to get that fabric cut out. But for thinner fabrics, such as cotton or duck canvas, you can go ahead and use your Cricut design to use your Cricut machine to get your designs cut out hassle-free. So now let's head on over to our embroidery machine where we already have the file loaded into our Chroma MT1501, and we're going to show you how to get that stitched out and how to get that placed. All right, now as you guys can see, we are over to the Chroma MT1501 embroidery machine, and I already did a temporary design just to see how that was going to stitch out, and it came out pretty awesome, you guys. So I'm going to walk you through the steps, through the process of how to go ahead and get this file laid down, stitched out, so that you can have a nice applique file for your designs, for any kind of apparel that you might want to put it on, or any kind of patches that you might want to make. So first step is I'm going to take my machine from automatic here on my file, and I'm going to change it to automatic manual so that after each step it stops, so that I can go ahead and lay my fabric down after the placement stitch, iron it down next for the tack down stitch, and then I'm just going to keep it on automatic manual just so that it can sew the rest of the design, just so I don't get confused as to the steps that I'm doing. I could probably just, after the 2 tack down and placement stitches, go ahead and change it to automatic, which it would say AA right here, but I'm just going to leave it on automatic manual throughout the whole process and just hit the start button every time the machine stops. I'm not going to extend out the frame because I can just reach my hand underneath the needles and go ahead and place my fabric and get it ironed. But in the event that I did need to push my frame out, I would just hit this frame out here to make my frame come out, and it serves the same process as to just put my fabric down, iron it on, push my frame back in, and get it ready for the rest of the design. So we're going to get ready. All of my stitches is already in the machine. Let me just move these other little threads that I had here from earlier. And we're going to go ahead, get started, and get that stitched out. What I am going to do is I'm going to move my design just down a little bit underneath the first test run that I already did. And we do that by just hitting our arrow. It's the up arrow to move the fabric down. It's the down arrow to move the fabric up. Everything is the opposite on the control panel. So now I want to move it to the left. So I'm going to hit that right arrow button to send it over to the left, the needles, so that I can be right underneath that first design, the first test design that I stitched out. All right, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a trace to see where that's going to land my design so that I don't hit my frame. As you can see, that's too close. It did hit my frame just a little bit. So I'm going to scoot that back over to the right just a little bit and do another trace to see where that's going to land my design. And under here, you guys, as I told you guys before, I do a lot of test designs with leftover materials so that I don't have to keep wasting my new materials. So what I'm going to do is real quick, I'm just going to reach under here and cut off a little piece of my cutaway stabilizer because it looks like I don't have enough. Right here, there's a spot missing. So I'm going to just add this little piece here while I do my tack down stitch to make sure that I have enough coverage so it won't distort the design and I get any registration issues even for my test out stitch out. So I'm going to go ahead and hit start so we can get our placement stitch where we need to lay down our fabric. And I'm just going to hold that from underneath. All right, so you see that it did do our placement design. And here is our graduation cap. I'm going to extend out the frame just for you guys so you can see where I'm going to lay down my fabric. Otherwise, you couldn't really see that. I'm also Since I didn't want to take my frame out and spray it with some adhesive for this backing, I'm just going to put a little pin right here so that it holds my cutaway stabilizer underneath the bottom. And when I get ready to do my diploma, that it will catch that other little piece. Once it goes around, I will take that out so that my needles won't hit the pin. But so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my cutout fabric for my graduation cap. I'm going to place it on my placement lines like so. I'm going to get my little pressing pillow. And I'm going to press it down onto my fabric. Placing pillow is going to go underneath my hoop. I'm going to press down my fabric onto my placement line. Just give it a few little presses there, just so that glue adheres. Okay. All right. And so now that's tacked down. I am going to push my frame back in. And we are going to get ready to tack down, make a tack down stitch around our graduation cap. Okay, and since we do have our machine on automatic manual, it is going to make another stop and get ready to go ahead and sew our satin stitch around our cap now. And let me just see if I can't get this a little closer. We are going to do that in blue as per the colors of my daughter's school that she attended for nursing. And I'm going to hit the start button and show you what that looks like. I just love seeing designs come together, you guys. It's just so awesome. I'm just going to change one of these colors in here, you guys, because my next color to do is the gray in the diploma, and then it's going to do the bow, but I want that bow to be a little bit darker, so let me change that while I'm thinking about it. I'm going to change from color 4 to color 6. I'm going to push OK, and then I'm going to push start. I'm going to cut these little tails off while I have the chance. And we're going to get ready to go ahead and embroider that bow now. Uh-oh. Thread break. Let me go ahead and rethread that. Maybe I've got that one a little bit too tight. I'm not sure. But let me go ahead and rethread that one. Using my trusty little purple tweezers. Yes, I found some purple tweezers, you guys. From where? My favorite store, Temu. So I'm going to back it up just a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and try that again. That doesn't look like it is catching, so let me check my bobbin thread here. Make sure we're all good down here. Make sure you hear that click when you put your bobbin back in. Back stitch it up a little bit. Turn your red light on, your red blinking light at the top of your embroidery machine by your number 1 needle, and let's hit start. Oh, and let me show you guys what the problem is. You see here, my thread has come out of the path here. Let me get the right angle here. My thread for my color here has come out of the path, and it is over in color number 7. So because that is not in the right path, the machine is not going to sew correctly. So what we need to do is I just need to move that over back into the correct path. And let's try that again. Okay, you guys, upon further investigation, I had snapped my bobbin back into the bobbin case, but I think I forgot to close my door, and so that's why I kept getting a sign that said that I had thread breaks. So what had happened was I had to remove my hoop off camera because it's just going to take too long to make this video, way too long to do it on camera. I removed my hoop, took my bobbin case out of the machine because the machine just didn't want to stitch. And what I found out was because my bobbin door had opened, my bobbin case had fell out and my pink string had just got all wrapped around that bobbin case, which was causing the machine not to embroider. So now I got that all corrected. I got my pink stitched out here on the outline for my diploma, and we're going to continue on. So it's always just a little bit of investigating that you guys got to do if your machine is not acting right. It's not that your machine is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's usually a user error. And in this case, I had just forgot to close my bobbin door after I snapped my bobbing back in there, and it was just giving me an issue, but issue corrected. So moving on to the next color, you guys. Oh, and my blue had also slipped out, and I forgot to put it back in the needle. So let me go ahead and do that. That's why you hear all that beeping now. So we're just gonna rethread that. Do a little back stitch. and hit our start button to redo it again. Whoops, I got the wrong color in there. So I'm going to stop the machine. I have it on black, and I don't want my bowl to be black. I want my bowl to be pink, and I thought I changed it on the right spot, so I have to push that color change for it to make it pink, push OK, and let's start it again, you guys. All right, you guys, and there you have it. Our design is all complete. I'm not going to go ahead and put our last stitches around our design as I did in my first design, because that's only if you were going to make a patch and you would have to have an outline so that you would have a border to cut that out, lay it on some plastic, which I will attempt that in another video, so that you can go ahead and have somewhere to place your patch. But here is our applique design, all stitched out. With the first test run that I did, the border for if you were going to make a patch, and then the second one with just showing you how to place the applique design. And actually, it looks like I placed that first one way better than I did that second one, but that's okay. It's just a test run to show you guys what the process is. So there are the embroidery designs on how to applique with fabric using our Cricut cutout machine instead of using those scissors to go all the way around that fabric. It makes it so much easier and so much simpler, you guys. So I hope you guys did enjoy my tutorial, and I will see you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe for me, and have a great day. Bye.